I really want to talk to Isaac, especially considering that we had this consciousness discussion on Wednesday. Isaac is calling in well, it says in the notes that they're calling in about the complexity of consciousness and its evolution. And Isaac is labeled as theist, as a believer. And so I'm interested in what Isaac has to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Isaac, in Michigan, you are live with Eric and V. Isaac?
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, is this your guys' 100th show?
No.
Not yet.
No. Let's see. So this is 4 episodes into season 3.
So we're like
season 2.
I want to say maybe 36.
Yeah, somewhere around there. We're in the upper 30s.
Oh, we'll make a big deal when we hit 100 episodes. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. The intro kind of sounded party-ish. I assumed maybe it was some kind of 100-episode special or something.
No, we're just excited to be here.
Oh, actually, so I have not been able to figure out how to get that cheer loud enough, so it's still coming in really low, but Isaac heard it on the line because of the way our system's set up.
Good.
Isaac, our old show, we had cheers and stuff from an audience, and when we started this show, we reached out to our, followers and all of that and said, hey, we would love to include your feedback. And so people recorded little cheers and stuff and sent them in, and we compiled them. And so that's what you heard at the beginning.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's cheesy, but it's fun. Anyway, you wanted to talk about consciousness.
Yes. Well, originally I had a different topic that I had to change before we went live, but then I remembered that I had seen you, Eric, talking about you guys have been discussing consciousness and diving into that. And
appreciate you rolling with the punches on that one. So talk to me. What do you got?
Well, as you know, I am a believer. I've talked to many atheists or non-believers, skeptics, whatever. Mm-hmm. I've had many decent conversations with them where it gets heated, but we at the end of the day, we shake hands, everything's fine, we're just having a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
But how I view consciousness, I believe, I just say it blatantly, I believe consciousness is absolutely supernatural and relies on supernatural, a lot of premises.
Okay. So
that kind of sounds...
Well, here's the thing. We have so much kind of paring down to get through because supernatural is such a broad term. I'm sure you're not talking about the TV show Supernatural. So what do you mean when you say supernatural? How do you define that?
Beyond the realms of science.
Beyond the realms of science.
Interesting.
Or non-natural. I guess non-natural is a better word. Obviously, what we can observe is natural, and non-natural is supernatural. A lot of people say that you can't assert that everything that is not natural is supernatural. You got to have evidence. But
okay, so
I believe.
Well, I hate to be pedantic. I just I want to make sure we're a little more clear on this. So you're saying not natural, which. Okay. My grandmother reads the backs of ingredients packets all of the time. And anytime it comes to some long word for a chemical, she goes, that's not natural. Would you say that if it can be derived in a lab, it's natural? Like, I'm just trying to zero in a little bit more because I'm telling you right now, not natural for a lot of people can still be found in the physical world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes. I guess supernatural. Like,
well, we're defining supernatural. So,
the not natural, of the natural.
Okay, so you would say that, maltodextrin and yellow dye number 5. Those are still natural because they're just found in the physical world?
Well, I guess it depends on how they were reverted into the physical world, I guess. Where they came from, where they originated from. Did they originate from a natural source or a non-natural source?
Well, that's kind of where I'm getting is I don't know of anything that originates from non-natural sources.
All right, how would one determine if something originated from a non-natural source?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of think that the universe, I don't want to jump off topic here, but I can give an example. I think that the universe is a supernatural because we don't know how it got here.
So that's a different definition of supernatural. Supernatural in that definition would just mean
because it can't really be explained.
Right, but here's my question. There are things that couldn't have been explained by current science 100 years ago that we've since discovered are natural. Were they supernatural at the time and then became natural once we could explain them?
I guess in some ways, but I feel like the origins of the universe is so much more complex than that.
Well, complexity can come, after, but we're kind of just trying to minimize the weird variables so that we can zero in on it.
Right, because right now I think we might agree on some level that there are things that nature or our science and the study of nature can't explain. And I think we would group things like the beginning of the universe or exactly what consciousness is and where it comes from and how it influences us as things that are not scientific law. Like, we don't know enough to be able to say that and pinpoint X scientific thing is the reason. So there is room for more growth and understanding. But I don't know that that necessarily equates to supernatural because that feels like you're saying there is no natural explanation as opposed to we don't know what the natural explanation might be yet.
Can I tweak that definition just a tiny bit?
In a moment, I do want to hear Isaac's response to that because that's going to be where I get that sticky point.
That is a very sticky point, but I feel like we're mixing up our versions of natural. I feel like there's non-natural and then there's supernatural. Then there's the natural we can observe how it happened. Mm-hmm. And then the natural we have to rely on saying like, oh yeah, science did this, and then that yada yada yada, a bunch of stuff on a book and stuff, stuff like that. We kind of just have to tell ourselves stuff. I just kind of feel like we kind of are just telling ourselves stuff,
I honestly, that's how everything around us is kind of part of a narrative that we're telling ourselves, and we're doing our best to understand the world around us the best we can.
That is science.
Just really quickly, if I don't say the thing, it's going to bug me for the rest of the episode.
Okay.
When you say not explainable by science, could you instead, would saying not yet currently understood by science or not yet currently
that was the...
Yeah, okay.
The thrust of that.
Okay. There was a point where you said unexplainable, and I was like, but then okay. Well, not yet explained. Or unexplainable by. Okay, no, I get it. Okay. Okay. No, that's entirely on me.
This is
Skeptic. That's entirely on me. Sorry. Isaac. You're saying that consciousness is supernatural. We're kind of getting into weird places because we haven't really defined supernatural yet. You said not natural is different from supernatural. Natural is obviously different from supernatural. I could be a butthead and be like, well, does supernatural just mean really, really, really natural? So help me understand supernatural.
Well, I don't want to just say ghosts, obviously, but spirits, the other world, I guess, the other dimension where I guess I can sum it up to that, but I feel like that's probably not going to be a good answer. But I guess spirit, it's the otherworldly.
Well,
otherworldly.
Okay. I mean, so I appreciate the honesty, and because of that candor, I want to be just as honest back towards you, right? You are modeling behavior that you want to see in us, and we're returning that. So I appreciate it. When you talk about that, it's not something, I'm sure you understand, it's not something that we agree exists. So when you're using that as evidence for the claim that consciousness is supernatural, and then when we say what is supernatural, you kind of point back to spirits and other world, like it kind of uses a bigger mystery to explain the smaller mystery. And it's not really helpful when we talk to each other. We can try to. So now that we understand what you mean by it, we can try and have a conversation with you. But it may not be convincing to us because we don't accept that, that other world exists.
Well, I would really like to hear what Isaac thinks consciousness is and where it does come from, because we've talked a little bit about definitions as we are wont to do on this show, but it does sound like you have an idea of where consciousness does come from, and I'm really curious to hear what that idea is.
Well, I don't believe it has a very good, a lot of scientists don't put it on a good platform. There's a lot of, they're still studying a lot of it, and I just don't believe on a diagram, the brain, our basic consciousness, this is getting into, again, more territory, but I'm a believer in free will. Obviously, I believe that we have capacity to make choices, so I believe that we can go into that there, but it's just the complexity thing. I guess that's what I'm beating over the head with you. It's not that strong. I guess now that I got on here on the show and I'm explaining it, it's really
it's
hey,
tough,
sometimes,
it?
Yeah, it always sounds a little bit better in your head when you've got like what the other person is saying back, and then the person you're actually interacting with asks a question all the way over here in left field.
Yep.
So we totally get it.
And you should absolutely see the armchair quarterbacks, the Monday morning quarterbacks who come back and watch the show and go, "Oh, I would have said it this way." We would have too.
Yeah, I think Isaac. I keep calling you Isaiah. I apologize, Isaac. The question that I have based on that, because it sounds like complexity is something that you're kind of hung up on, this concept of there are things that are just so complex that it feels like it might not be natural. And I'm curious why you've drawn that distinction, right? Because we know a lot of things in nature that are very complex that can be proven to be natural. So where is this distinction between complex and natural and complex and supernatural?
Well, I guess the stuff with the least amount of scientific studies, and I know that obviously scientists don't have the answers to everything, obviously, and I just make that distinction based on if an answer satisfies me. I don't want to go off topic here, but let's say, for instance, I'm a believer trying to defend Noah's flood, when obviously it's proven that Noah's flood did not happen. It's proven, and I can't sit here and tell myself.
Oh, okay. I see. I think I see where you're coming from, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to see if this rings true for you. Are you kind of talking about Occam's razor, where the answer should be the most simple version of that answer, and so something that gives you all of this additional baggage in terms of, well, and then this, and then that, and then that, seems to raise a little bit of a red flag, whereas a simpler answer for something makes more sense?
Yeah, I guess in that sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, and that's a good instinct. And I think that the only tweak that I would offer there is it feels natural to give certain answers more credence, or think that something seems more simple, like God did it, right? Because that is so much simpler than, well, at this point in time, these 10 million things happened. And then at this point in time, 10 million more things happened, right? So it feels simpler. It feels like a more complete answer. But then you have to go that extra step and think, okay, well, what does the answer, God did it, entail? And as you dig deeper, especially if you're able to kind of get outside of your own kind of cultural heritage of understanding that certain gods are more likely than others based on what you grew up with, it becomes clear that that also has a whole lot of baggage and additional things that need to be the case in order to be true. So that's like the one area that I feel like a lot of people get close to by saying, hey, the simpler the answer, the less additional complexity needs to be included. Maybe that's a better answer to shoot for.
But the spiritual realm is incredibly complex.
Right, exactly. And so it feels natural, especially in a culture where things like God and ghosts and the other world are considered to be part of just everyday life for a lot of people. But it does have its own baggage there as well. So it's not necessarily more simple, even though it might seem that way.
Yeah, I mean, I did just simple examples of that are, if you were talking about what is supernatural and what you're talking about with a supernatural realm, how do you determine the authentic from the inauthentic? What parts are involved and what parts are excluded, and why are they involved and excluded? Have you determined that this person is a real shaman and this person is a fake shaman? How do we observe all of those things? All of that is just kind of baked in. So V, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and I don't think your instinct is off necessarily, Isaac. I think that that is a useful tool to use a lot of the time. It's just we always have to go that extra step and think, okay, this feels more simple to me. This feels more correct. What is the baggage that is bringing to the table? And is it actually a better answer? Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, Isaac, I know this isn't the topic that you... Go ahead. We've been talking at you. You deserve the chance to talk.
I mean, you go through arguments, you go through arguments, and you're like, oh, okay, I got this. I'll be able to at least argue this point. And I feel like I got on here, and I've literally, everything is jumbled. It's like I undid a puzzle, and now I'm just trying to put the puzzle back together while talking to you guys.
Dude, it totally happens. Honestly, that is one of the best parts about having someone doing this with you. Because there are times when I will just shut down, or V will just shut down, and we'll be like, hold on a second, I lost my point entirely. So dude, it's totally okay. What I'm really hoping though is I'm hoping that kind of going over this conversation gives you new thoughts, gives you something to kind of reflect on, and maybe something to call back about next time, because it sounds like you have a lot, and it sounds like if you got that stuff kind of together, we could have a really cool conversation that I'd be really up for.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I would definitely consider calling in. Again, you guys are awesome.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Isaac.
Well, thanks, Isaac.
Isaac, thank you again for being up for rolling with the punches.
You guys, do you guys want to hear this dyke bitch get fucked in the ass?
Who?
Listen to that shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah.
Is this a troll?
I don't know.
Oh, no. Did he drop or did we drop him?
Oh, we dropped him.
Oh, I kind of wanted to keep him on just to see how long he can be, awkward and weird.
What even was that?
I don't know. I think it might be the guy who called in before who, we'll have a really cool discussion, or talk about something really meaningful and insightful.
The more that it sounded it kind of sounded like the dude, honestly.
Yeah.
That's very weird.
I'm so confused.
Okay. I hope that
though?
whatever is, I hope the animal that we heard a second ago is okay, sir.
I'm kind of at a loss. We would be happy to take calls that aren't weird at the end. I don't know what that added.
Don't be weird at the end.
Yeah.